We're here today at the Woodstock Farm Sanctuary where we're going to meet some amazing animals, some amazing staff, and some amazing people behind the rescue efforts of these very exploited animals. So let's go inside and check out the scene. Here with Kathy, the shelter director. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, I've always been, like a lot of us, better with animals than people. I raised my daughter and I ran a business, and I've always been involved with animal, activities, shall we say. And then when my daughter went to college, I realized that I wanted to do something every day that mattered. So I started working part-time. I mean, at that point I was already working part-time at Catskill, and I started working there full-time.
How many animals do you know approximately how many animals we actually
Right
have
now,
here?
I believe my count is 356.
How do you go about rescuing an animal? How do you know that an animal is in need of rescuing?
Unfortunately, there's always animals in need of rescuing,
Yes.
and none of the sanctuaries can take everybody. We hear about it through news stories. A lot of it is people just calling up saying, "Oh my God, I just saw these cows. Is there anything you guys can do?" Hoarders, sometimes it's the SPCA or law enforcement seizing animals, and they very rarely have the capacity to take on farm animals, so they look to sanctuaries to help them out. And sometimes it's like right now, I have somebody coming up in just a little while who found 3 hens in the city.
Wow.
And they said, "Can you take them?" And 3 hens, I can tuck them in somewhere. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, there they come, Whereas other ones, it's a bit more dramatic when, like a cow that escapes from a slaughter truck or something like that. And every single time it's a balance of, okay, can we do this? Do we have the resources? Do we have the space? Do we have the people? Every single time it's a decision, and that's hands down the hardest part of my job.
Yeah.
Is having to say no.
Yeah.
Because if I don't and we become hoarders, then we help no one.
Absolutely.
So I won't take on animals that we can't properly house and take care of.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So you guys give tours on the weekends,
Mhm.
and on average, on a weekend, like how many people would you say actually come up?
I think at this point, is not my department, but I think we're looking at around 250 a day.
Wow.
I think.
That's a lot
I
of
may
people.
I may be overstating, but I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, but it's such a big, beautiful space that it doesn't feel crowded with that number of people here, and people can wander about, or they can take the organized tours, but it doesn't feel too crowded. But it's so important to try and get people to see these guys as individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So who's in charge of naming the animals?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a committee, but I get veto power, and personally, I want them to. When I meet an animal, it's it's like Tammy and Jolene. It was like, she just seems like a Jolene to me, and she's this many animals. Sometimes you start to run short of names, and then sometimes you just hit you, and it's brilliant. So yeah.
This is beautiful, and the animals that are here are so lucky to have you. So, do you think they know? I think they know.
I think a lot of times they do. And when animals come in, a lot of times they're traumatized. And there's some of them it takes, and everybody gets to heal in their own time. Some of the guys come in and they are instantly like, "I'm here. This is great, wonderful. Is this where I'm sleeping? Yeah, good. This is my room. I'm good." And other ones, you can see that they're a little wary.
Yeah.
But their ability to forgive and to give us a chance, to not see us as every human who has come at them, a lot of times their only experience has been negative, but they give us a chance. And those of us lucky enough to work with them every single day, to be able to see them and to earn their trust, and to see that look in their eyes when you realize that they understand, that you offer them no harm and that you love them and that you see them as them. I see them as Tammy and Jolene and Franklin, you know, I see them as themselves, not as a thing.
Yeah.
So, and they do. And their non-verbal communication is quite clear and varied if you're paying attention.
Yeah. Yes. Obviously, a lot of these animals, they come in with their own sort of trauma, but I think the most visible is the turkeys who come in with, you know, their beaks and their toes as well, you know, cut off the tips of them. And do you notice that they have issues with certain things that, you know, turkeys who didn't go through that would
You mean emotionally or physically?
Both.
Well, I mean, physically, literally, the ones who've had their beaks really shorn, very, very short, they have difficulty eating.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that the bowls are tipped a certain way and that they're soft bowls so they're not hitting their face on them. Walking, the ones who've had their toes, because you know, it's not like these are surgically taken off. These are whacked off.
Yes.
Same with their beaks. And I think that the ones who've been through that, they may be, you know, more likely to be shy. It's some of the bigger animals you can see, the ones who are head shy. You go to put your hand towards them, especially quickly, and they'll pull themselves back. So the ones that have been more physically assaulted in the face, I think that they're more likely to be a little shy of the movement. And then, you know, and at first they're all very shy, and then you see them starting to figure out, and there's, you know, there'll be the quieter one, the more gregarious one, the ones, you tend to see things in a group of animals that, you know, the sheep tend to be this way, this tend to be that way, but they are, each one of them, you know, sort of figures out the best, you know, their own little niche.
Okay. We just heard that the hens are here. Could we go with you and see these?
Yeah.
When I found them, when I met them, they were in like not a driveway, I wouldn't call it a driveway, like a garbage alley in a cardboard box. I held them overnight until I got them up to a wild bird on.
Are you setting up something at your new house?
Right now I can't, but I would love to. I would love to.
I'm here with Rachel. She is the executive director here at Woodstock Farm Sanctuary. What would you say are your day-to-day things that you do here in terms of your job?
So we are a sanctuary for abused and rescued farmed animals, but we're also just like a traditional nonprofit. So we have all the financial stuff, the marketing, the admin, oversight. So I'm in charge of all of that. And then we also do a lot of advocacy. It's a lot of offsite advocacy, vegan outreach, work with other social justice organizations that are offsite. And so I work a lot on that stuff as well. So it's a lot of like admin work, time in my office, and then being out on the farm, hanging out with animals and doing this kind of thing.
Which is a great job.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been here for 3 years and I've only been in this role for 2 months. And I am unbelievably happy and I feel very lucky. I really wanted to do something in the philanthropic nonprofit sector. So I worked for a feminist literary press, I worked for a couple of human service organizations, and then when I was in my mid-20s, I got a job at a companion animal shelter and a humane law enforcement agency, and was like, oh, I can help animals with my career. This is what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
So I made the transition. I was doing companion animal rescue work and advocacy. I did a lot of personal, like pit bull advocacy in my own time because it's there in a soft spot in my heart. And then I really wanted to make the move to vegan advocacy and farmed animal rescue because, I mean, there are about 4 to 5 million of dogs and cats that are killed in shelters every year, and we have billions upon billions of farmed animals that are killed, and people don't know, and a lot of people don't care. And so the cause is so urgent. So I was hired 3 years ago as the organization's first development director, and was in that position for 3 years.
When you came here, you were vegan already, and you guys hire, you said that you hire vegans.
Yeah, with the exception of some of our maintenance positions and sort of people that we hire locally, the whole team is vegan. I think it's especially important if you're doing advocacy or marketing or outreach or dealing with the animals.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be telling everyone to go vegan if you're not vegan yourself.
Yeah.
But I have been vegetarian for most of my life.
Okay.
And I went vegan actually right after I was hired for my first shelter job. And I was, sort of like a mindless vegetarian, where I went vegetarian and then I was like, okay, done. I never have to think about this again. And it never even occurred to me to become vegan until I was working a shelter job and was seeing all the suffering that was happening with these dogs and cats coming into the shelter. And then I was just trying to limit suffering in my life.
So how old were you when you went vegetarian?
Originally, so I was born vegetarian.
Okay.
And because my father is Rastafarian, and so they're religiously vegetarian.
Yeah.
And then my mother remarried, we stopped being vegetarian, and then I made the decision myself when I was 11, just because I made the connection, and I, read Charlotte's Web and went through the typical little girl loving animals thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just, vegetarian until I was 24. We usually have anywhere between 50 people a day to up to 200 or 300 people a day, but over the course of a year, we're expecting to have 10,000 visitors.
Wow.
So that's people that are coming and volunteering, and also people that are coming and getting the humane education tour, where they're really being educated about what happens in industrial factory farming, meeting the animals, and learning why vegan. Mm-hmm. Those are our 3 main tenets of our education. So we're pretty new to this site. We were at another location 2 years ago, and we couldn't have nearly had those numbers. And I think it's so important to our mission, because the number one thing we do is rescue animals and give them lifetime sanctuary. But we could do that and never make a dent in what's happening and the horrors of factory farming. So what we can do is rescue these animals, make the connection with people, tell their stories in person, but also in social media, through medium like this and other things, and actually save billions more. And that's sort of our 2-pronged thing. Rescuing the individual is so valuable because they're an individual and they deserve to live and they deserve a happy life. But we're able to save so many animals by doing our outreach work, and it's a huge part of our program. It's a huge part of our budget, and we're so thankful for everyone who comes up here.
Actually one of our, I guess you could say, special needs animals. He is fit with a prosthetic as he grows, so he's probably, I think he's gone through 3 so far, because he is growing really quickly. He's got, you can see that.
Hello.
This is Fawn, and she is also another one of our animal residents here that gets the prosthetics made for her. She actually was just cast for a new boot and prosthetic yesterday. And she was born on a dairy farm, and when her mom was actually pregnant and in a milking stall on concrete, so when she gave birth, Fawn actually fell and broke both of her front legs when she hit the concrete when she was born. So they were gonna kill her, as they would in the industry, because she's only looked at as profit. And we rescued her, and so as she continues to grow, we fit her with new boots and prosthetics, and she's doing really great. She loves to hang out here in the sun. She can always be found outside. So Rudy has really amazing ears. He's growing into them, but he's the one right over here. He actually has 2 different colored eyes too. He's really beautiful. And he was rescued from a petting zoo situation where they had him for a season. It was like one of those garden centers that rents animals for a season, and when they were closing, they were actually going to send him back to the slaughterhouse to be killed.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's terrible.
he came to us, and we're so happy. Look at him. Oh my God. He's such a friendly guy. And we have Lexi over here. She's the black pig, and she came from a farm-to-table restaurant or operation that was raising her, and a culinary student was actually interning at the farm, and when he met Lexi, she was a little baby piglet, and when he just put two and two together, realized what was going to happen, contacted us, and actually completely switched his whole career path because of that.
Yeah.
They are such intelligent animals. They know exactly where the shade is, how to stay cool on a hot day.
Yeah, we're not.
Has anybody here ever seen a wild turkey? Yes. Okay. Do they look like these? No. Go to Thanksgiving and people say white or dark meat. Okay. Actually, it really has nothing to do with taste. What it has to do with is the fact that when you are staring and comparing the two carcasses of one that once was a white feathered turkey, which means it has lighter colored flesh, and a darker fleshed turkey, which means it had darker feathers, the darker feathered fleshed turkey, you can still see where its pin feathers were on the carcass, okay? And that makes people really uncomfortable because it is a trigger. You see pin feathers, you think fly, you think living, breathing, feeling being. So we are now disconnecting people from this reality and breeding them to be white because you can't see the pin feathers anymore. Now, in terms of the flying, yes, commercial turkeys will never fly. They're far too heavy. They are genetically modified just like the Cornish to gain all that weight in their front breast area. But wild turkeys can fly up to 55 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive. Yeah? They don't soar like eagles. It's like this crash landing kind of funny thing, but it's fast. And it's really important for them, right, especially at nighttime to get away from homes and trees and things like that.
We hear from people all over saying that I visited 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Not only this helped me make that decision, either to go fully vegan or to move towards it, or it gave me a community that kept me vegan, because that's a big problem in our movement, is a lot of people make the connection, decide to go vegan, and then don't have a community. Yeah. And I think it's so important, and that's where farm sanctuaries play such a role, is you get to meet animals, have that transformative experience, and also meet people that are in this just like you are, so you don't feel isolated.
Absolutely.
And that's an imperative, I think, in terms of this sort of ethical movement. I think it's also, I think the other thing that organizations like Woodstock Farm Sanctuary or just, vegan media in general can do is give you the resources to talk about it a little bit more intelligently. So that, not that you have to get into an argument with everyone who challenges you, but to be able to say, okay, so you might say this about turkeys, but I've met a turkey, and I can tell you that they're not stupid, that they're lovable, that they like hugging people. Let me tell you about Tomoko, let me tell you about Amy. I think that comes from a place of power.
Yeah.
And I think about this a lot because I am 35 now, and I think I'm just recovering from the curse of being a young woman who wants everyone to like her. And I think I feel like I'm just getting old enough where I'm like, oh, not everyone has to like me all the time. Yeah. And it's really helped me as an activist because I've always been positive and proactive, and I feel that being a positive, proactive person is a better way to be an activist in general, and it's more my style. But I've really gotten better at drawing my own boundaries and challenging people when they say something. So if it also helps to be like a professional vegan at this point. People tend to not talk to me as much about when they have stupid comments. But so even in my personal life, that like if someone makes a bacon joke in front of me, I think when I was younger, I would just like smile or just try to get out of the situation. And I find it to be so compelling and such a place of power to be able to say, all right, I know that you don't understand why this is offensive to me, but I know pigs and I also know what happens to them, and I don't I find that comment actually very offensive. Just being able to like be chill about that and just, like speak your truth about it is really powerful. And I think it helps to be around other people. This is true of any activist community, I think, though. Anyone that I've been a part of, it helps to be around other people so you can practice that language and you can hear other people speak about your movement so that you can speak from a place of power and like groundedness, so you're not just like screaming at someone every time they make a bacon joke. And I think it's effective. Because it's like, no, this isn't ethics, this is a rights movement. This is not my dietary choice because I want to be skinny.
Right.
This is like, it's as a rights movement, and I'm choosing not to participate in the systematic torture and killing of billions of animals. So I don't like it when you joke about it.
But when you bring people here to have them make that connection,
it's huge.
We're
not going to be able to rescue ourselves out of this problem, and I think it's the imperative issue of our age. Is our reliance on industrial factory farming. It just is, and it's an environmental disaster, it's a public health disaster, and number one, it's a disaster. It's an ethical disaster. This is not necessary, and for every animal that we save, there are billions that stand behind him that we can't see. And that's the role that we play here, and we're very lucky to play it, and I hope everyone comes up and visits us and comes to cuddle a chicken or kiss a cow.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I hope you learned a lot about the animals and about ways to become vegan. Please make sure to subscribe below for all of our other content, and go check out V4Veganism.com for more information about Woodstock Farm Sanctuary, and make sure to come here on the weekend and take a tour and meet the animals, and you'll learn so much about them and you'll grow to love them. Thanks again.